Alright guys, welcome to videos 15 through however many we need. Um, Today we're going to talk about floats. It's part of our start of our discussion on positions and positioning. We'll talk about floats, we'll talk about absolute position, relative position, and static, and what they all do and what they mean. I'm going to go ahead and start here. We have a couple of files I've set up just to show as examples, and actually I need to make some changes here real quick. So this matches my CSS. Okay. So what I have here is a couple of divs with some content in them, and they're wrapped inside of this container. And I've set this up just to start getting closer to an example of what we're going to do for our layouts. Okay. So here it is. This is our content area here, and our green box is our container, and we have two boxes inside. This is all set up with stuff we've learned from previous chapters, so nothing out of the ordinary here. We just have borders, background colors, margin, padding, and width for our boxes, and then a similar setup for our container box. Okay, so just elements inside of elements with some of the settings we've already learned. Okay, so what we're going to learn now is how to position these. And in a previous video we talked about normal flow. Okay, and normal flow means the order you write things in here is the order they're going to appear on the browser, right? And it pretty much, one comes before the other. They're going to appear on top of each other in the order you wrote them in, left to right, up and down, similar to just reading a regular page. What we want to do to set up our layouts is break the normal flow of things, because we want things to move around. Okay. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on this orange box. It's the sidebar, quote unquote sidebar. And I'm going to add a property here. This is a new property we're learning, and we're going to go with float. Okay. Now float has three different values that you can use. You can use left, you can use right, or you can use none. None is the default. So we're going to go with either left or right, really your only options here. And I'm going to move this one to the right. So I'm going to break it out of its normal position here. So normal position would be just to go all the way to the left and underneath whatever block element came before it. In this case, this blue one. This orange one now should move. This blue one here is a block level element, so it's taking up all this green space here, and so is this one. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to break the flow of it and move it over to the right hand side and start to create some movement here so we can end up with the sidebar next to this main content area. Okay, so let's refresh the screen here, and there you go. There's step one complete. So now our orange box is to the right. Okay, obviously it's not exactly where we want it. It's not next to this blue box here, but it's just the next step in the process. Okay, so it's still respecting this empty space here. Okay. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the second one, and I'm going to tell this one to float as well. I'm going to tell it to float left. So I'm going to tell it move all the way to the left and break out of the normal flow of the document. Okay, so it's going to float. And it's already to the left, right? What it's going to do is it's going to give up its space here on the right hand side of the page. And I must have been talking about the padding there. So I'm going to refresh, and voila. Now this guy is next to, I should say, in the same line as this guy. And what they're both doing is, I just realized I was talking about padding. What they're both doing is that they're moving up to the next parent that's in the way. In this case, it's the container. Okay, and one has padding and one doesn't, which is why one's going all the way to the top of the container and one isn't. So this orange one is hitting the top, and this blue one is still respecting the padding, or the margin rather, that it has. So it's still giving itself some room. So that's the difference there. So that's kind of what we want, right? The next thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to change the width of one of these guys. I'm going to change the width of the first one and make it larger. And what it's going to do is it's going to bump down the orange space, right? Because now it's larger than the space it has available to it. The rule with floats is that they can sit next to each other, so they're going to respect each other's space and kind of flow around each other up to the next parent element where it hits a dead end, as long as there's enough room. Once they run out of space, they're going to start stacking on top of each other on the side that you mentioned. So the second one is obviously floated right, so it's going to bump down and float to the right. The first one's floated to the left, and it's going to take up its space and float to the left. Okay. Alright, so the next thing I wanted to show you guys here in the code is, I'm going to make this one a little bit smaller again and let it bump up the orange box. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this browser and I'm going to shrink it. And you're going to say, hey, what happened? It moved down. Well, the reason it moved down is because in the scenario that I have here, the green box, the container, which you will need a container for your layout, is what is known as a fluid layout here, because I've given it a percentage as its size, and it's told to be 100% of the browser. So everything inside of it is flowing, right? And if someone were to resize the browser window, it would obviously break your layout in this situation. So there are ways around this. I have both of the aqua and orange boxes set in pixels, and what you would want to do is simply set them to relative sizing, like percentages or ems, so they would resize as the parent container sizes, right? So we can show you that in layouts later on. What I'm going to do now is to show you the opposite, is to change this to pixels. So I'll set this to a absolute size, right? So the container, this is the green box, is now 800 pixels, and there you go. And no matter what you do now with the browser, it's always going to stay that size. It's not going to resize, and everything's going to stay within it. And if you tend to navigate through the web a lot, you'll see some websites that when you resize the browser window, they are all relative sizing, so everything sizes and eventually hits a stopping point where it can't get any smaller. Whoops. Or you are an absolute and things don't move at all. So options for you. You'll have to decide for your own layouts what's best. Okay. And again, here we go. It's going to break even though it's in a fixed size, because again it's bigger than the space, and you're saying, well, one's 200 and one's 600. It should fit in an 800 pixel box. Don't forget about paddings and margins. Okay, so the paddings and margins for both of these are now combined with the sizing of the boxes are larger than 800 pixels. Okay, that's from the CSS box model. So there you have it. Let's continue here. Alright, so that's floats, and next we're going to talk about absolute and relative positioning. See you guys in the next video.